Hey, my name is Ben. Thanks for stopping by. I've got my little girl helping me today. And we're working on installing our gas range. This is a Kitchenaid range, but the installation process is kind of similar. So we're going to go through step by step and show you just kind of the general overview of what you need to do to install a gas range. First of all, you want to make sure that you have the right type of LP, or not LP, but gas feeding your range. So if your range is a natural gas range, which almost all new ranges come as natural gas, and if you need it to be used on propane, then you can get a kit that replaces all of the orifices in the system. So you'll see underneath here, there's a spot right down in here. You see that little gold thing? That's the orifice. And if you need to convert it to propane, that's the items that you'll be replacing. It'll come in a kit that looks something like this. So this has the burner orifices all laid out. I made a video on how to do the conversion, so I'll try to link to that below if you're needing to convert your range to LP or to natural gas, depending on if it was already converted. Now also we're going to have the gas line connections themselves. So you can see right down here we have our gas feeding up from below. This is a copper line, 1/2-inch copper feeding into here with a flare fitting. And then immediately after that we have a shutoff valve. And you need to have a shutoff valve just to make sure you have the ability to turn this off. And then we have a short black iron nipple, and followed by the adapter with a 1/2-inch gas flex connector. I'll put a link to all of these things in the description if you're looking to purchase them. Now on the opposite side here with the flex connector that I'm using, it has the male adapter, 1/2-inch male adapter that threads into the gas pressure regulator, or gas valve, I would call it. So that is the parts you need for hooking this up. This thing's about 4 feet long. That gives you enough room to get this in here and have it slid out far enough that you can get back in here to work during the process of installation. You also notice here on the back that there's a distance from the floor, which looks to be about 7 inches or so, that there's a kind of a bigger void that you have room for that gas valve and all that to be underneath there, so that when you push it up against the wall, that gas line and everything can be in that area. So we're at about 5 inches or so, and we have 7 inches of space, so that'll be nicely inside of there. But if I had this coming straight up, we might have problems with it holding the range away from the wall, which we want to have this tight to the wall if we can. Now here we have the anti-tip bracket, which I was, you typically don't see these things installed because most people don't think they're necessary. But if you care about little people, which I certainly do, it's supposed to be a little bit safer, because what this does is it locks the back leg of the range to the floor. So you can see right here that the leg would slide into this notch, and this bracket would be anchored either to the wall or to the floor. Now I'd recommend anchoring it to the wall if at all possible, using these back holes here, and that's because you don't have to drill holes in your floor then. And if you have a floating floor system like mine, this is vinyl plank flooring, you're not going to pin that flooring down. Thank goodness for Cheerios, huh? Everyone's very thankful. Sorry about that. Here it explains where we mount this bracket. What we do first is make a centerline mark in the back of the where the range is going to go. Typically that's 30 inches there, so we'd be at about 15 inches from one side. Make a mark there and then measure back over to where the bracket's going to be. You can choose the right or the left side for which foot you want to lock down to the floor. We're going to choose the right hand side in my case because my gas line is coming up over on this side, so there's more space over here. So we will mark that and get that thing anchored in place. Here we are in the back where like I was talking about, my gas line's over here. We made our center mark here in the middle. I used just a little torpedo level to make sure that I kept my lines nice and straight. And then we measured over 12.5, and there's our second mark. And we will put a couple screws right here. Again, we're not going to put them down here so that we don't anchor down this flooring, because this is supposed to be a little bit floating. So 2 screws right there are going to go right into that base rim joist, I'm assuming, and it should work well. We're using a couple of 2-inch Torx screws here. I don't want to use any longer than 2-inch because if you think about the drywall here, we're going to have about a 1/2 inch taken off of that, so then we'll still have about 1.5 inches of a screw left, but this bracket you can see holds the screw away from the wall a little bit, and it's also going at a slight angle down, so we should be fine with this, but you don't really want to run a screw into the stud or into the wall further than 1.25 inches, I believe it is, into the wood, so after you subtract the drywall. Otherwise you could potentially hit a wire or plumbing or what have you. So make sure this thing is lined up here. Looks pretty good. Definitely bit there, so I could feel that it went into the wood. We'll do the other side here too. Just get them mildly tight, you don't have to go nuts on them. But there we go. So now we will have this thing properly secured to the floor, so we will be doing this the correct way. Now, in case you're wondering, when you check for gas leaks, you can use some of this Mega Bubble leak detector or some other liquid leak detector. All this does is it bubbles if there is a small gas leak. And then the thread sealant that you're going to want to use is something like this. This is a pipe thread sealant that's a Teflon-based type of sealant. Do not use Teflon tape for gas line connections. Always use some pipe dope. So I'll put a link in the description to the stuff that I use all the time. Next up, we're going to level the range. So my floor happens to slope back towards the wall this way. And so what I need to do is get this thing leveled to where it's going to sit in between the countertops correctly. So we're going to use our torpedo level here. I think this is going to be adequate, but if you had a little bit longer level, you could use that as well. So you can see here that I need to raise the back of the range up. So we're going to kind of shim this and tip the whole range forward a little bit, maybe slide a board underneath there so I can get a hold of those feet, and we'll go through the process of just leveling it in all directions. You can also level it by placing a level inside of the oven on the very bottom and kind of check it this way and make sure that it's looking good. Now I'm just using a crescent wrench here and trying to get this up in here. I'm not doing it with the camera, but basically get a hold of these feet and just bring them down little by loosening them to the distance you want. In the front here, the feet are nice and easy to get to, so that one's going to be a little bit easier to adjust. I just have to adjust that one down a tiny bit. Alright, the gas is all hooked up. We checked it for leaks. We're all good on that. We've got our power connected here. Now, Kitchenaid says that this is best to put on a 15 amp circuit dedicated to the range if at all possible. If you put it on a ground fault circuit, you might end up with some nuisance trips periodically, so it might be a good idea to do that. So we should be ready. We've got our floor bracket installed right here, so this should be able to push straight back here, and we'll make sure that that foot locks in right there. So we'll slide it in right now and see how it looks and see how that gas line does. We'll keep a really close eye on that to make sure we're not kinking it excessively hard or anything. It should fold kind of up against the wall there. Well, you can see better than me probably. See how this is going to go. Kind of coax it along into the right position that I'm hoping for here. Something like that. And I should be able to have room behind here to fold in. Here we go. I'll take one more look at it. Oh, that's looking pretty good. Move that down and plug actually. The bottom one. Circuit number 3. Okie dokie. There, I think the foot slid in there now. And there we have it. It's in position. See if it's working okay. There we go. So we are in business. Thanks so much for watching. Please hit that thumbs up button down below if this helped you out, and feel free to subscribe to the channel for more helpful videos like this one. We will talk to you in the next one. Thanks again. Say bye. Are you done with your Cheerios yet? Getting down there. Talk to you later.